Welcome back. This is still Tea or Coffee on High Impact Television. It's right about time for our interview segment. And today we're talking about something quite interesting. I mean, I've been having a conversation off air and I am intrigued and I can't wait to let you in on what we have to discuss today. Now, we're talking about movies for social change. And you know how we say when it comes to music, that music has a way of, changing people's mindsets, of healing people. It has healing facilities. It has magical powers, I would say. So do movies. And I want to find out how movies can be used for social change. And to do that with me, to have this beautiful conversation with me, I have a film writer, director, and producer. And his name is Best Okodua. And we'll be having a conversation today. And I must say also that he's also a social innovator. So you're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's good to have you.
Yeah, I'm very delighted to be here today.
Yeah, yes. Okay, so now let's start with why movies are important to the society. Why are they so important?
If you want to backdate entertainment to to the 80s, yeah, you'd understand that people actually did loved the circus. Yeah, a lot of people go to actually watch the shows and they feel like that is a break from the stress and every other thing. And it's got better. It kept growing, and then people really wanted to see drama, and then theater was born, and it's film, and we realized that a lot of people across the world fell in love with that entertainment called film. Yeah. So you would also agree with me that it became a go-to whenever they want to ease the stress, or probably whenever they want to take a break, or when they want to have fun. Yeah. And every other time, yeah, the traffic of interest in this particular field started growing. It started growing. The industry keeps getting sophisticated, gets getting bigger, and like I said, the traffic also. And it gets to this point where there is hardly anything that can be done now. I stand corrected.
Okay.
In politics, in advertising, in fashion, in banking, in every industry that would not at least extract a juice from the film industry. You understand? Yeah. So film by itself, it's now an essential part of existence. It is no longer that entertainment that we really used to know it to be. It's now an essential part of our existence. People are so in love with it such that it influences every aspect of life. Now that is how important film has become right now. Yeah, be it movies, series, commercials, music videos, these are all films. Yeah, and this is actually the position right now.
So let's talk about influence, how movies influence the minds of the audience. You know, they say movies mirror what is happening in the society, and it has a way of shaping the society. But how? Let's talk about the power of movies now. How powerful is it?
A lot of people have no idea. Do not know about how powerful and how influential films are. Now, most cultures are actually born from film, from movies. Now, if movies are powerful enough to actually, start up culture, start norms, start traditions, do you want to begin to imagine how powerful movies are? I'm actually going to come back home. Let me not talk about the pop culture abroad and all of that. Now, there was a time, not very long from now, when we had the Guerra-Reyes syndrome. Now, the crooner of that particular slogan eventually did get away with a couple of endorsements, even in communications and in the advertising world. Why was that? Because the consumers of that particular content are huge. so huge, and it became more like an anthem. Any small thing, both the literate and the illiterate would actually want to add Gera Roye to their sentence because it was a trend. Do you understand what that was at the time? Yeah, that was a culture that was born from a movie. Now, there was also another time when another actor pioneered Nadem the Russians. Everywhere, even I actually stumbled over a social media meme, or probably it was a joke from the House of Assembly, when a particular member of the House, you know, did have to, in passing, make the joke, not them, the Russians. Now you begin to understand where this gets to. Do you understand? And not long ago now, probably right now, what is trending now is Mado. You get Mado. Where did that come from? From a film. Because some people would say, oh, it was a music video. It is a film. Do you understand? Now, that is a culture that is currently trending, the young and the old. And will you want to ask again how influential film movies are? Very influential. Very influential. Movies have the ability to actually start trends, have the ability to stop trends, have the ability to educate, have the ability to uneducate. Do you understand? That is how powerful movies are.
Okay, now we're having a discussion before we came on there, and I was talking about how I stumbled on your Twitter account, and you're so passionate about, you know, the youths, you know, overcoming depression, and also you're talking about peer pressure and quite a number of things. I know the time you even mentioned something about the government, how the change starts with you as an individual, and then, you know, it's a ripple effect on everyone and the likes. And I know you've done a couple of movies. So is it that is your passion for social change that informs the kind of movie that you churn out?
Yes. Now, this is how I choose to say things. I think every young person is a potential change agent. Every young person has the capacity to be positive, has the capacity to emit change, has the capacity to be the progress and development that we want to, that we dream about. Yeah, you know, and I say to myself, I'll just start with myself, with me. That change should start with me. And maybe along the line, I would be able to probably directly or indirectly influence a couple of other young people. You understand? Now, as a filmmaker, it is culture for me, it is tradition for me to ensure that every project I embark on is developmental. Now, we have the United States Sustainable Development Goals. We have 17 of them. Now, anybody that is conversant with the 17 UN SDGs would know that these goals actually cut across every social problem you can think about. Do you understand?
Yes.
And there has been a call for young people to be agents of change. To pioneer these goals, to ensure that these goals comes to fruition. And I am doing my own quota. As a filmmaker, I actually get the privilege to be able to talk about whatever I want to talk about beyond my core passion, which is, of course, peace. That I probably will talk about much more later. Yeah, but when I am developing a story, I think that it is a waste of my creativity. It is a waste of my resources. It is a waste of my technical input to actually produce a content for the sake of producing a content. I would have failed if that is what I end up doing. My own school of thought. I am not going to force this down the throat of anybody. Do you understand? Yeah. And I am also of the school of thought that says that, yes, we can actually be profit-oriented. We can decide to make a film, to earn so much profit. Now, we can decide to actually make premium quality productions. But if you infuse developmental sequences into it, it does not take away from the quality of your content. Whereas, it even adds to it. What that means is, if your film would potentially get to 1 million people, it means that you have an opportunity to speak to 1 million people. You have an opportunity to influence 1 million people. You have the opportunity to actually sow a seed of change in the lives of 1 million people. Why would anybody not take that opportunity?
You know, I will say something. We're talking about a particular movie that got to reach thousands of viewers and all. And you were saying if only you had the opportunity to just sow a seed in the minds of people and,
You know,
create that social change.
That was huge. It's actually not thousands of views. It's hundreds of millions of views. And when I saw the review, I said to myself, imagine if one of the most pressing social issues amongst young Africans was addressed in this picture.
Movie.
Maybe subtly, it doesn't have to be like in the face of people. Hundreds of millions of young Africans would actually have known better right now because they saw that particular picture.
Okay.
It's just what it is. It's not rocket science. It's very easy. It's so easy. You know, I mean, it's a thing of you want to communicate anti-robbery, anti-corruption, and you want to stand on the podium to talk. Nobody would listen to you. We all know that. Nobody would listen to you.
Span.
Do you understand? But you want to address such issues and you put it in a film. Now, they do not have a choice. Even the ones that do not want to listen will not have a choice but listen. And the whole idea of these lessons are not everybody that listens to you, even when the message is direct, would appreciate the message, would be influenced. Now, also, not everybody that actually gets to stumble over this your subtle message would probably listen to it, agree to it, or probably be influenced. But now, there is also a fact that a fraction of the people that encounter it would actually meet their truth on the day. That message would resonate with somebody. And the philosophy about change is not only effective when it happens en masse. In fact, it is difficult to effect change en masse. Change is a lot effective when it is one person at a time. If you actually sow a seed into the lives of 100,000 young Africans and one African responds positively to that seed, that is huge change. That is progress. That is sustainable development. Because you know why? That one person automatically becomes an agent of change. And he actually goes and express same actions, you know, same formula, same way. And in another 1,000 people that he may reach out to, he will be able to convert one person who automatically becomes an agent of change. Before you know, it's a ripple effect. And it's sustainable. Over time, we would have more good. We have more good than bad. And when you have more good than bad, it's a win.
Exactly. And let's talk about, I know you say that when it comes to profit making, it's okay for, you know, you said like 80% of filmmakers are more profit oriented, and it's okay.
I wasn't saying that from a place of judgment. No, it's absolutely fine. Matter of fact is, I probably would not even make a feature film without profit in mind, because what I run is a social enterprise. Now, what social entrepreneurship do for people like us is, the good that we would want to do in form of charity, we tend to ensure that it's sustainable by making profit, such that if we make profit, we can actually sustain this good. Do you understand? That is the whole concept of social entrepreneurship. Do you understand? As against the charity itself, NGOs that solely depends on grants. It is difficult because I run a social enterprise and I also run an NGO. So I can tell you, like, the social enterprise is a lot more sustainable than the NGO, because the NGO solely relies on grants and donors. How often do you get grantors and donors? Do you understand? But if you're in a social enterprise, you're making profit. And now when you earn profit, you have capital to reinvest and, you know, reach out to the lives of people again, touch them, and you make profit and you go on and on and on. And I believe that should actually be the model upon which filmmaking is operated on. Because, like I said, infusing developmental messages, deliberately wanting to touch lives, does not take away from the quality of production, does not take away from the technical approach, does not take away from the strength of your story. Like I was telling you offline, I work with ADA, African Radio Drama Association, a very wonderful organization. Now, whenever we have script conferences, we're trying to tell stories. The story, it's a development company. So it's not even negotiable. Whatever story that is being churned out has to be a development story.
Okay.
But that isn't usually the approach. We tell a fantastic story first. Leave the lessons one corner, leave them aside. We tell a fantastic story. When everybody now agrees that, okay, this is a fantastic story, a story worthy of note, them like, okay, now how do we infuse our message? It does not take anything away from your story.
And that makes a lot of sense. But where I was going with that question was that I see sometimes when they spend maybe a week to shoot a movie just because they want to churn something out. I am of the opinion that if you want to shoot a movie, you should be intentional and you should take your time.
Yeah.
In as much as you want to make profit, which, yes, you've explained at length that it's okay. But then I feel like the message that you want to pass across, you should be intentional about how you are delivering it. That has to go with picking the cast, people you are going to work with, and having a vision of what you want to achieve at the end.
Now let me tell you this, yeah.
Okay.
I think being intentional does not really resonate with the number of days that is being used to make a film, or yes, I can agree with preparedness, how prepared, and understanding what you really want to do.
Okay.
But then and again, I can also excuse your notions because you're not in the industry, you're not a filmmaker. One of the biggest problems that the Nigerian film industry have is funding. Now, most independent producers fund out of pocket. Now, if you're funding out of pocket, most often than not, it's a budget film.
Okay.
Now, you don't want to make a budget film for 10 weeks. Every day counts. You rent equipment, you pay for actors. You don't want to do that for 10 weeks. You don't even want to do a budget film for 2 weeks. But like I said, it comes in the planning.
Okay.
Now, I currently have a film that is in the cinemas right now. Yeah. In a way, that was a budget film. That film was shot in 5 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Modeled was shot in 5 days. It's in the cinema, and we are doing good. I mean, we had a rating from 10th position to 6th position at the last weekend, which was inspiring. Yeah. Now, Modeled was a story that spotlights the traditional approach to relationship and marriage that we young people do have now. Force emotions, believed into the actual emotions, and there is actually this picture that is more like a mirage, but because of the benefits, we just want to not pay attention to the picture. Hence the rampant divorce rate, you know, less than 1 year, less than 2 years, and this is becoming a norm. Like, this is happening on a daily. There was there was this news that broke out in the start of the year that it's hardly the end of January, and the marriage court in Abuja had over 4,000 divorce applications. Yeah, so I mean, when you begin to look at things like that, you realize that that is a conversation that is worthy of note. We need to have that conversations as young people. Yeah, and that was what Modeled was about. Now, it's the end of, this is the start of March. I've already done 3 films. Yeah, so they are actually budget films too. The first is Sleep Away. Sleep Away is a film that actually deals with sleep paralysis. Now, we chose sleep paralysis because...
so I hope I'm going to give you your bill as soon as you're done with this interview. Hope you're ready.
But we chose sleep paralysis because the African notion to a lot of issues in this country is usually spiritual or religious, whereas we have medical explanations, social explanations to a lot of things. These are part of the enlightenment, part of the development we hope to churn out. Do you get? Now, we also did something on, so that I won't call the name so you don't give me so much bill. Yeah, we also did something on cybercrime. And I did told you behind the scenes that our approach to that particular movie was unconventional because a lot of people have this default concept to cybercrime, to Yahoo. Once they hear Yahoo, what comes to mind is bling bling, fast cars,
the particular image
laptop,
of a man comes into mind.
You know, dreadlocks, and you know that is the. Whereas scam, advanced fee fraud, internet scam is way deeper than that. The perpetrators are even a lot more sophisticated than that. The ones giving this country huge problems are sophisticated than that. And that was the approach we took in treating this particular one. And just recently we concluded a short film on HIV stigmatization. And I said to you that HIV stigmatization will die a natural death if people can feel safe. Because at the end of the day, everybody just wants to feel safe. So no matter how much you scream and cry and say, do not stigmatize HIV, people living with HIV, it does not hold water because everybody wants to be safe. If I still think that my association with somebody living with HIV is detrimental to my own well-being, I would avoid it. That's stigmatization. I would not work with. I would not want to work with same person in the same office. Do you understand? But if I am convinced that I can actually have close association with somebody living with HIV and I am safe, naturally, I have nothing to worry about. I have nothing to fear.
Okay, so let's go into the conversation of, you've created a lot of movies and you've had reviews, you know. Would you say that you have achieved the social change or the message that you wanted to pass across, you know, in that movie? Judging from the reviews now.
Well, from the reviews, yes. Like I said, even from the most recent one, we've been having several conversations. Now, we've not even made the film out for consumption yet. It was just a trailer we released and a couple of publicity materials. And the conversations has been very, very, very inspiring. A lot of people have come out to say, oh, yes, so I used to think it's the devil that used to press me. A lot of people have come out to say, well, that I used to fast and pray. And I'm like, you don't have to fast and pray. Some will say they used to call the blood. And I'm like, let the blood of Jesus rest. This has nothing to do with the blood of Jesus. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So these are conversations that actually, you know, brings joy to my heart because it means that I have done something right.
Okay.
And over time, the same with the series we did on cybercrime, there were lots of feedback from young Nigerians, even in diaspora. Yeah, and that actually brings some level of warmth to my heart. But I would also say categorically that it's not a one-off process. It's a rolling process. You can't just make one film on a particular social ill and you go to bed and you think you've done justice to it. There are several angles to look at it. There are several ways you can tell stories because the truth is, reminder is often a very, very beautiful way of effecting change. People need to be constantly aware of the fact that they can be better persons. Okay,
so let me come to this conversation. Let's talk about how as a filmmaker, I know now there's been like a change, because growing up I used to watch movies on maybe addressing mother-in-law. I know you understand what I'm saying. You know your mother-in-law, this, and then they address that, and then we moved into another aspect of movie addressing something, and then we moved into comedy. At some point, all the movies that were releasing was based on comedy, but at least they had a subtle message that was being passed across. And now it's like most movies I see now are heading towards social change. So is it like there's like a paradigm shift from time to time and everyone just follows suit when one person takes the lead? You know, because by the time the movie released about rape, there was a movie released about child marriage, you know, so, and then other movies were now coming out in that line. So it's that once one person blazes the trail, every other person follows.
You know, I think it's just the aroma that comes with success. You know, when I said aroma, maybe the aura that comes with success. You know, certain people are actually magneted by pleasant aura. Okay. You know, somebody does something and it looks good and the results are quite enviable, and everybody wants to do the same with the hope that they would achieve similar results. Yeah, but this is where we often get it wrong. Whatever is not done from the heart cannot be done well, because you can't give what you do not have. It is just what it is. Now, I would go back to reference back in the day when we were telling so many mother-in-law stories. Yeah. Well, be it as it may, at the time, that was a problem, and that is still a problem. Now, it still brings us now to my arguments earlier, later on, that it's not enough to actually start telling the stories and stop because you think you've done justice, because these problems will never completely go away. So the frequency of the reminder the more it douses of. There is still the mother-in-law problem still there.
Yeah,
Even though nobody is trying to tell, like a lot of people are tired of that story already. Yeah. But then and again, it's still a prevalent problem in families. Maybe people just need to come up with a lot more innovative ways.
Or will you say because it wasn't balanced? Because you hardly see movies where, oh, you have a good mother-in-law. Because there are also cases like that. So if we say that we are mirroring what happens in the society, why don't we give it a balance? Where we talk about how there is a wicked stepmother, and there is a good one.
And that was even, I would also like to say, that was one of the issues that a couple of social commentators had with the Nollywood contents when you look at it from a global perspective and the perception and notion which it sent out to the other parts of the world and people observing. Yeah, like, okay, does that mean that we only have these problems? Don't we have good things going for us too? But really and truly, it boils down to what a lot of people want to see, and it boils down to profit and finance. Now, that is why I said that true change would only come when people begins to actually, you know, do these things from their heart, when they're intentional about it. Because at that point, you now understand. You know how to strike the balance. You don't, in a bid to want to make an impression so that you make sales, like they say, bad news sells. You don't hurt the good people. You always find a way, because once you are a social champion, you would have empathy. Empathy would be a quality that would automatically come, even though it comes over time, but it comes. You have empathy towards humans, towards the society, towards other people. So naturally, you would not want to just hurt people for no reason. And if you eventually tend to hurt people, it will be not intentional, and it could probably be for the greater good. You understand? But then and again, like I said, it comes from a place of intentions, knowing exactly what you want to do. There will be this set of people that are actually doing this because they understand what they want to do. I have seen a couple of films jet towards social change that I thought were intentional. Yeah, I would not mention them before you spike me. Yeah, but I have also seen a couple of films that were supposedly jet towards change, but I know, and a lot of people know, that this is actually towards profit, because movie A has done well in this regard. Movie A got accolade from that important persons. Now producer B wants to do the same to get similar attention, not understanding the rudiments of how these things work.
Now, in as much as we say that, yes, movies are very strong instruments in driving social change, I would also say that they are very strong instruments in driving social damage. Because sometimes, in all honesty, I've seen some movies that at the end of the day, I'm like, what were you trying to pass across? What were you trying to tell us? Like, this is okay? Like, is this actually okay? I don't want to mention the name of the movie, but I know there was a storyline that talked about how you know, now we have the old feminism talk, and I was talking about how it's okay for a woman to just be relegated to the kitchen, you know, just do her duty because it's a job, you know, and how the man is meant to go to work. And to even move past movies a bit, if you notice, even when it comes to adverts sometimes, it's now becoming like, okay, for a man, he goes to work. A woman stays at home, takes care of the children, she cooks, is in the kitchen, takes them to school, brings them back. And I saw that in a movie, and I was like, okay, what message are you trying to pass across? And then another question came to my mind. In the movie industry, are there, you know, committees set up to check, you know, the message being passed across in movies, even before they reach the public? You know, even before because I feel that is very, very important, because there's some messages that you pass across and then it affects the society. It's like a subconscious thing. It drops into the mind of people.
I think that would be the job of the Nigerian Video Censors Board. Yeah, but let me say this. Let me start from the top of your submission. Yeah. You know how I see filmmakers?
How?
I see filmmakers like superheroes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, sadly, a lot of filmmakers do not understand the power that they wield. But filmmakers are like superheroes. But then and again, you know, with superheroes, the city feels safe. But have you also seen the downside, the flip side of this play? Have you seen when the city agitated against superheroes? Because the truth is, with the kind of power that these superheroes have, imagine the Avengers, for instance, now, you know, as powerful as the Avengers were, even the American military, you know, I mean, in the story plots, there's a faction of the military that never actually, you know, licensed the Avengers. They didn't want them because they felt they were too powerful. Now they may be doing good, but the day they decide to start doing bad, they can wipe out their heads. Nobody can match their power. Superman would always have villains, and the villains are actually, you know, somehow justified because they feel Superman is actually one man with too much power. Okay, he's doing so much good. Now, what happens the day that the red sun comes and is contaminated? He can easily hurt the world. You get the same thing with the X-Men. The X-Men, the number one problem that the X-Men has always had was the government, because the government feels that they are toxic. In as much as they are doing so much good right now, they also have the power to do so much damage. You get, and that is what it is with superheroes. They have so much power to do good, but there is usually a flip side to it. If they decide not to do good, they can do so much damage. And this is how I see filmmakers.
Okay, with that analogy, I'll let it slide. But then, talking about Avengers and the X-Men and everything that you mentioned, you know, when it comes to international movies, we see them doing futuristic movies. There was a time they talked about how electric cars was in existence, and now we have electric cars. So when is the Nigerian movie industry going to start making?
Very soon. It's budgets. It's not like we don't know. It's not like we don't know what to do.
Okay.
Yeah. There is actually a film currently in works now. I hear it's a futuristic film. Yeah, I don't know, but
hope it's not in the traditional side.
No. The producers are actually, the producers have actually, you know, earned their place. They are good.
Okay.
So we can trust them. Okay. So, you know, so let's see. I hear it's Nigerian's first futuristic film. Yeah, and actually I'm looking forward to it. But the truth is, it's not like we do not know what to do. We just don't have the budget. We don't have the funds for it. Yeah, the average American film is how much? The low budget Hollywood film is more or less our big budget film here. So how do you marry both together?
Okay, so before I let you go, let's talk about how the governments can help the movie industry, and the advice is a two-part question. And the advice you have for movie, you know, producers and directors out there in effecting social change.
How the government can help?
Yeah, the movie industry.
My sister. You know, this part of the conversation, it weakens me. You know why? You know why?
Why?
Because I feel it's a legislative problem. It's hardly the president's problem. It's just legislative. It's the people in the house. And that is why sometimes I used to say that the people that actually wield the most power are the lawmakers. If they decide to pay attention to something, you see the kind of energy they are putting into rehabilitating Boko Haram, the rehabilitation. See the kind of energy passing through first reading, second reading, making. Imagine if they actually consciously see a future in our industry. You know, Hollywood is one of the highest grossing sector when you talk about the America GDP. Nollywood is almost the same. I don't know if, in fact, see, this conversation sometimes makes me emotional. Now, and one of the analogy I used to also use is, I have been mugged in Oshodi when Oshodi was the Oshodi that a lot of millennials would not know what Oshodi was, like. You know, but it took a decision. Yeah, Fashola said, I would reform Oshodi. That decision, and he did. In less than 1 week, Oshodi was actually rid of miscreants. Military was everywhere in Oshodi, and before you know it, Oshodi became safe. Oshodi now became a place where you can pass through at night and nobody would harass you. At some point, we thought that was impossible. For us that grew up with that level of, you know, toxicity in that region, we thought it was impossible. It happened. If the government, the people that are affected really can decide to create a haven for filmmakers to operate, create a market, like there should be a stamp on piracy. It is possible. I think that they are not doing what is meant to be done for probably selfish and obvious reasons, because if Oshodi can be what Oshodi is right now, who are the pirates that hawks DVDs on the road? Who are they? Who are the pirates that actually pirate DVDs in Alaba? And they can get rid of these guys if they want to. Now, when they begin to do things like, we are not even, at this point now, we're not even saying give us money anymore. Just make the creative space profitable for us. Make us, create an environment where we can actually market our creativity for value. Nigerians are willing to pay, but we just do not have the... my sister, it is well.
Okay, so just one sentence, because we need to go now. Let's know, your advice to filmmakers and directors out there.
Oh, my filmmakers and directors out there, it's hardly an advice. It's more or less a submission. Yeah, I know we're doing a lot. I mean, it takes a lot to make a film. If anybody would know that, I do know that. But we can be a lot more intentional. We can all be a part of the change that we crave for. We can all be the superheroes. We can be the agents of change. And how can this happen? Just intentionally ensuring that our films are developmental. 1 or 2 infusions, it does not change anything. And then we are what? Superheroes.
Thank you so much, Bess, for coming on the show. We've been talking to Bess, and he's a film director, writer, producer, and I'll call you a social change agent. And, talking about movies for social change. Thank you so much for staying tuned to these segments, the interview segments. But be sure there's more to come on Tea or Coffee.